back, guys. Welcome back to another retro review for this week. Of course, Thor Ragnarok is coming up. I've already got my first Thor review out for the week, and here we are with Thor: The Dark World. I'm excited to talk about this one too, because again, this is another film that I've only seen once, and it was once in the theater, and I really enjoyed it the first time I saw it. Now, I know a lot of people find this to be the weakest of the MCU, and most likely, after seeing it a second time, I understand why. But I'm not gonna lie, I had still a lot of fun with Thor: The Dark World, and I don't think it's a trash heap or terrible by any means. I think there's still a lot of fun to be had here, but we'll get into my cons, my pros. But should have comment down below and tell me what your guys' thoughts of Thor: The Dark World. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of it. Do you guys think it's bad? Do you guys think it's underrated? Tell me down below, and we'll talk about it. But let's get into my review. Starting off, Thor: The Dark World, you know, it's now they're introducing another Infinity Stone, the Ether, the red one. This cool one, you know, we have another Thor, and pretty much just Thor's coming back. It's just after the Avengers. Loki's locked up. He's just trying to make all the realms whole again. And starting off, this movie is directed by Alan Taylor, the guy who's done a ton of Game of Thrones episodes. And if you're a Game of Thrones alum, he does a lot of the action episodes, and you can feel it in here. For me, all the action sequences in here are 10 times better than the first Thor. And you feel it because a lot of it feels like war sequences. You can totally tell that Alan Taylor's stamp is on these action sequences. And that's one of the big pros for this Thor movie. And I mean it by a lot of means. I think some of the action here is fantastic and some of the best in the MCU. Now, is it kind of generic when it comes to the story? Yes. The story for this is very generic, and at least, with a very generic and bland villain that is so bad. This is hands down the worst villain in the MCU. Malekith is boring, and he's played by a really good actor, so it's really disappointing to say that, but really just the story's boggled down by the generic story that it's being told. Like I said, it's not a terrible story by any means. It's just very generic and very predictable in a lot of senses. Like I said, the action sequences do save this generic story with a lot of means. It's very tense, it's very anticipating, and you know what else helps these action sequences? It's having a memorable score. And I find Thor: The Dark World score to be very well done. And that's saying a lot, because the MCU doesn't have a lot of memorable scores particularly, but this is one of them that really is one of the best in the MCU. So major props for the studio for that one. The thing that I really like about Thor: The Dark World is really just the mythology building. If you guys have followed my channel for a while, I'm big on the mythology, and you can totally tell they got a bump up in the CGI for this world, because the world is flawless. Asgard looks beautiful. You know, we don't just see it at dark nighttime, no, we see it during the day, and it is magnificent to see on the screen. It's just beautiful, like all the colors lighting up. And I mean, now we're having Guardians of the Galaxy 2, even Thor Ragnarok. Everything looks gorgeous. But coming back and looking at this film, it just looks so shiny and pure and just amazing to watch. I mean, Asgard looks beautiful. It's somewhere I would want to live. Fuck. But that goes to anything and part of this movie. This movie is very gorgeously filmed. And like I said, like, this is one of the better looking Marvel films. I like this film a lot. I find lots of fun aspects. Of course, Chris Hemsworth comes back to be Thor, and he's fantastic as Thor. He embodies what Thor is. But, you know, Natalie Portman again comes back in, and she's Jane Foster. And I like Jane Foster's character. But again, it's way down because the relationship sucks. I don't believe in their relationship whatsoever. And then, but of course, Tom Hiddleston knocks it out of the park as Loki. I mean, Loki is one of the best parts. And I will say, though, there's a whole sequence in here that for some reason you haven't seen this Thor movie. I don't want to spoil it. But there's a sequence in here that I really do feel like was reshot to have more Loki in this film. And I think if you guys have seen this film, you probably know what I'm talking about. So tell me down below if you know what I'm talking about, and we'll talk about it. But there's one sequence where I feel like it's just really reshot. I love Loki's character. I think Tom Hiddleston knocks it out of the park. He's one of the best parts of the MCU. He's the best villain pretty much that we've had in the MCU. And just Loki's great, and he's great in this movie as well. And continues again, Lady Sif, her crew. Lady Sif's, of course, a badass. She gets a little bit more to do in here than the first film, and same goes for the whole crew. She's just awesome. I wish she should get her own solo series. Cut it out with the bullshit of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Let's get Lady Sif in here and have her be a badass. Get her own series. She deserves that. I think one of the cons, though, that I really recognized as I was watching this film is that as dark as this film can get, there is still some good humor in there entwined. I wouldn't say Kat Dennings' humor really works all the time, but like I said, some of the humor works. And there's some sequences where the humor it was dark as shit at times, and then gets like a humorous moment comes up, and it kind of just takes away from the tension. And I really don't like that they made Stellan Skarsgård's character like this crazy wacko. Like, I get why, but he didn't need to be so crazy. Like, it totally took away from his character that we saw in the first Avengers and the first Thor, so it was kind of weird, and that kind of just stuck out to me this time, because I just rewatched the first Thor, I just rewatched the Avengers like a week ago, and I get it why he's crazy, but I feel like they made him too over crazy, and I feel like they could have toned it back a bit. Maybe it was the actor, maybe it was the director, maybe it was even the script, but I just never felt entwined with that. Really, I'm not gonna bash Thor the Dark World. I find it to still be a very fun movie. It has some fantastic action sequences, some of the best I've seen in the MCU, and that's all thanks to the director in here. He really feels like his stamp is on there. But the thing is that this movie is boggled down by the generic story and the very generic villain for this. Yes, we have Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Yes, we have Tom Hiddleston as Loki, and they're both fantastic, especially when they're together. Their dialogue, their banter just clicks, and you can totally feel the chemistry in there. Odin's all powerful and mighty, and he's great. Anthony Hopkins brings gravitas to his character. Natalie Portman's fine in the role. I just think it's the relationship that really brings down that character. The whole Earth element, like, it's kind of just a waste at this point. Like, I know we have to have it, but that's why I'm happy for Thor Ragnarok, because it doesn't look like we're getting any of that aspect. I like going into Asgard. I like going to these different worlds that Thor has to go to, and it's intriguing. When he's in those other worlds, that's when this movie really works, even with a generic story and a generic villain in Malekith, which honestly should have been 10 times better. You know, even Malekith's bodyguard was even more badass than him. It's a rant that I could rant on for millions of times. But again, the score was really good for this film, and I enjoyed this film. It's fun. It's really fun. It's not an MCU film I'm gonna be dying to watch again, but it is a fun film, and I don't think it deserves all the crap that it gets. So with all that said, I'm gonna give Thor the Dark World a B-. Again, like I said, Thor the Dark World is not a bad film whatsoever. It is weighed down by that generic stuff in there, but I think the action sequences have the stamp of Alan Taylor on them, which is great to see. But tell me, guys, again, comment down below and let me know what you guys think of Thor the Dark World. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's horrible? That's what we're here for. We're talking movies. That's the best thing. And if you guys are new here, make sure to like and subscribe, because I do talk with you guys about tons of movies. I love talking movies. I do trailer reactions. I do movie reviews, TV reviews, video game reviews. I do all that spectrum. I'm a big geek, just like anyone watching this video, and that's what I'm here to do, is talk movies, entertainment, everything with you guys. But as always, guys, you guys again for all the support. You guys are all the best. Can't wait to talk more movies with you and talk about Thor Ragnarok tomorrow, guys. Look out for that. But as always, stay classy and have a great rest of your day.